Welcome back. You're looking at a live shot of the Rose Garden. We're awaiting President Trump. He is about to speak along with India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi. A lot on the table there. Terrorism. They got an arms deal with India. Also an energy deal involving liquid terminals, liquid natural gas. Big deals coming up. President Trump declaring a victory after the Supreme Court unanimously lifted a stay from the lower courts against most of his temporary refugee pause. Now, the Supreme Court ruled the president's executive order is within his constitutional rights over national security. Let's bring you up to date. Just since the beginning of the Muslim holy month of Ramadan in May, more than 380 people have been killed and nearly 900 wounded in 17 significant terror attacks. We have a number of states that have been collapsed around the world. We got Libya and Syria, failures. President Trump saying, quote, today's unanimous Supreme Court decision is a clear victory for our national security. As president, I cannot allow people into our country who want to do us harm. I want people who can love the United States and all of its citizens and who will be hardworking and productive. Let's get to the panel. American Islamic Forum for Democracy, Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, and look who's here, Jordan Sekulow from the American Center for Law and Justice. Dr. Zuhdi, this could take effect on Thursday, the 29th. There's now a pause in the 6 mostly Muslim nations. Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, you and I have talked about this. Why was this an initiative to begin with? We had Democrats like Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton. They voted for a similar pause in 2002 after 9/11.
Well, because, Liz, their axis revolves around partisan politics and not really looking at the common ground that we share as Americans. And what do you know? Cooler heads prevail now. The Supreme Court rules rationally and tells our commander-in-chief that he has a right to look out for our security, that there's nothing about this that ban that or pause that had to do with Muslims, but it had to do with jihadists, Islamists. And since the 52 Immigration Nationality Act, the federal government passed laws that allowed our president, our commander-in-chief, to keep us safe from ideologies that threaten us. All this pause was trying to do, and the Ninth Circuit was way out beyond left field into partisan politics, using us Muslims as a pawn, and still the Islamist groups today are coming out with their same old talking points. Oh, this emboldens bigotry. Baloney. This is about keeping us safe. There actually should be more countries because it has nothing to do with Muslims. There are Islamists and jihadists in this country that thankfully now cooler heads have prevailed, and the president can begin to vet against Islamism and not against anything to do with being
Jordan,
Muslim.
You hear what Dr. Jasser just said.
Yes.
I mean, Muslims are being killed by these jihadis.
The majority.
We had 73 Democrats voted for the pause back in 2002. Chuck Schumer suggested a pause after the Paris Bataclan attacks in 2015. Right. Are the appeals courts politicized right now?
Totally politicized. I remember out of the Fourth Circuit, Liz, we've been talking about this since the very beginning of the year. President Trump has not had a victory in court until today at the Supreme Court on this very issue. And yet in every interview I did with you, I said, just wait till it gets to the U.S. Supreme Court. Rational minds, as Dr. Jasser said, they will look at this differently. They're not going to be looking about tweets and comments like that. And that is what is so important here.
All right, here's the thing, Dr. Jasser. We have liberal-leaning justices. That's how even CNN calls them, liberal-leaning justices. Sotomayor, Breyer, we have Ginsburg, and we have Kagan saying, yes, the president is within his rights to do this. But you had Democrat Senator Ed Markey still wrongfully calling it a Muslim ban on CNN today. Let's watch this shot. Let's take it. Watch.
I'm disappointed that the court just didn't rule that a Muslim ban in and of itself is unconstitutional. That goes right to the heart of the Statue of Liberty, staring at the Trump Tower in New York City every single day in terms of what it stands for.
Okay, Mayor of New York City de Blasio also said it's a, quote, Muslim ban. It's not a Muslim ban. Okay, it's not. If it was a Muslim ban, you would have Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, and Egypt on the list, as you know, Sebastian Gorka has pointed out. What do you think, Dr. Jasser?
Well, I think he's disappointed that the justices aren't reading from the Democratic Party identity politic talking points. The bottom line is that one of the things that's being lost also is Justice Thomas, Alito, and Gorsuch, in their opinion, writing for the majority, said that, you know what, this is better. This is giving the president the leeway he needs to vet those coming in. But the fact that it doesn't go all the way is going to open the floodgates for possible litigation, and that's why we can't come fast fast enough to the fall when they're actually going to do full oral arguments on this so that we can finally put to rest the immigration issue and how much leeway the president gets, rather than playing into partisan politics, which is
it's an
what
important
many
point.
of the sound
And
bites
you're an
today do.
astute court watcher, Jordan.
We
By the way,
filed in all these cases.
how can you do vetting from collapsed states of like
can't.
Syria and Libya? But the Supreme Court did make this an exception. It said the pause, quote,
Right.
may not be enforced against foreign nationals who have a credible claim of a bona fide relationship with a person entering the United States.
This
right?
is why I still say it's a huge victory for President Trump. That little exception there does not mean that you get a green light, Liz, to come into the country because you've got that relationship. You still have to go through all the rest of the vetting. So if you're a terrorist who has family here, no, you're not coming in. It's just not the ban that is prohibiting you. Absolutely. So that is why I think I agree with the 3 dissenting conservative justices, and I do hope, as Dr. Jasser said, when it gets to the Supreme Court, because what this is really about is the full scope of presidential power to keep us safe. This is just a piece of the puzzle. These are temporary, you can call them bans, you can call them pauses, but in 3 months from now, it may be 2 countries off this list, then we need to add 2 more countries. That's what October is going to decide. Can the president issue these Can a president in the future make these kind of executive orders without having to battle them out through district courts in Hawaii and district courts in Maryland and the 4th Circuit and the 9th Circuit, calling them so horrible? Can they just get it done to protect us safe as part of the puzzle to keep America safe? The threat right now comes from, yes, the majority Muslim world, but not every Muslim country is incapable of vetting, and that's why they're not all on the list.
Thank you, Jordan. Dr. Jasser, we love having you on the show. Come back
Thank you,
soon.
Liz.